Hey guys, the Curious Owl here, and today I will be sharing with you guys my April TBR. So I will be doing the Owls Readathon this month over the course of the entire month, but I also have other books that I will be reading over the course of the month, so I'm going to start with my Owls TBR. For Owls, I decided that my career is going to be the librarian track. Last year I did the writer and journalist one for both the Owls and the Newts, and so I thought it would be cool to kind of spice it up with changing up the career, but also picking something that I think would fit me personally and fit me as someone who would be in the wizarding world. So librarian has always been something I've actually wanted to do for a long time. I loved working in libraries as I was growing up when I was like in middle school and high school, helping out with the school library. So I think it would be absolutely perfect for me because I love shelving books and I love looking at different types of books all the time. So for that, I needed Owls for Ancient Runes, Arithmancy, Defense Against the Dark Arts, History of Magic, and Transfiguration. I am also going to be doing the Animagus training that is in the Owls now, and that includes me having to basically go through two of the classes I've already done, which I think were Arithmancy and Transfiguration, so I don't have to pick new books for those. I can just do the one that I had already picked for my normal Owls, but I do have to read something for potions. So before I get into my actual TBR, I do want to show you guys a very special addition to my library, and that is my library cart. I am so excited to finally have one of these. I am now going to be using this to essentially house my TBR for each month, so I'm very, very excited. I love the fact that I have this now, and I got it for half off when it was on sale at Michael's, so I'm so very excited. And I was told that hopefully when Robert and I move here in like another month or so, maybe about a month and a half, I will likely get some more bookshelves, and I might get some really good ones from IKEA. So I'm really excited. So first things first, I do want to mention that I will be reading more of Fire and Blood by George R.R. Martin. I picked this up in March for Anathon and realized that I wanted to spend so much more time with it and really digest the material as best I can as a fan of the Song of Ice and Fire series. I am over halfway done with it at this point. I do only have a very small amount of it left in regards to the whole thing, and I've basically been making it so I read a section of the book every single day. So I should be finishing this though hopefully within the first week of April, but I'm really enjoying it so far. So to start off with my Owls TBR, I have my Ancient Runes prompt, which is to read a book that has either the word heart in the title or an image of a heart on the cover, and for this I am picking Tell Me Three Things by Julie Buxbaum. The next prompt is for Arithmancy, which is to read a book that is outside of my favorite genre. My favorite genre is fantasy, so I wanted to pick something that was maybe more on the contemporary side, and for that I picked With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. The next prompt I have is Defense Against the Dark Arts, which is to read a book that is either set on the at sea or on the coast of a world of some kind, and for that I picked Wicked Saints by Emily A. Duncan. You guys are going to have to let me know if for sure this takes place on the coast of the country that's involved in the story, because I think it is, but I'm not 100% sure, and I could not really find out exactly if it is the case. So please let me know down in the comments below if you've read this and if it does, for at least the majority of the book, take place on the coast of the country. The next prompt is for History of Magic, which is to read a book that has either witches or wizards involved with it, and for that I am reading The Black Witch by Laurie Forrest. The next prompt is Transfiguration, which is to read a book that involves shapeshifting of some kind, and for that I am reading The End of Oz by Daniel Page. This is the fourth book in the Dorothy Must Die series. It's not necessarily the final book because there are short stories involved with the story. And the reason I picked this one is because there is a character that has been brought up in the last book, Yellow Brick War, that does shapeshift. And finally, to round out my Owls TBR, for potions, I was to pick a book that had less than 150 pages. And for that, I'm very happy to say that I have picked up the newest Amanda Lovelace poetry collection, which is Break Your Glass Slipper. So in addition to that, I do have my random TBR pick from March, which is His Majesty's Dragon. I do want to still read this one. I just didn't have time to read it in March. And then without further ado, I'm going to show you guys the books. You've kind of already seen a couple of the books that I ended up getting because I filmed my random TBR pick and my library lottery pick early again, because I find that that's just easier for me when before I make my TBR video to pick those books out. So let's roll the other footage. Hey guys, so Obviously, this is filmed before I actually film my TBR video, but I'm building my owls TBR and everything, and I figured I would just draw my random TBR for the month. We have arch enemies. Oh my gosh, yay! That makes me so happy. I'm actually really excited to read that. I do have the physical copy of this one, and I think have the last book in the series. I do. I think I got that for Christmas or something, or I bought it for myself around Christmas time, but I'm so excited to get back into the series. I miss my Nova and my Adrian. I'm so excited. You guys have no idea. You guys may know that I think it was sometime last year in 2019, I sat and I reread Renegades in February for the booktube games, the first round of the booktube games. I sat and reread and annotated Renegades, and so I'm kind of thinking I want to do this for Arch Enemies, where in the first read through I sit and annotate, because I want them to all be consistent. So I think I might do this for this one, and I was just so freaking excited. I really want to finish the series as quick as I can now that I have an excuse to read it. And while I am also here, I'm gonna go ahead and also do my library lottery wheel. Unfortunately though, I do not have access to my library because of the fact that I have the stay-at-home initiative as of now in the state of Michigan. So I am gonna probably just pick something that is an ebook. I'm gonna try to find something that fits closely enough to what I draw that I can access as an ebook through my public library, because I can't go and actually grab a physical copy, and I listen to a lot of audiobooks on a regular basis, and so I want something that's going to be different than the audiobook that I would probably find. I don't know. If they don't have anything that fits though what I want in terms of what I draw, I will probably try to find an audiobook that meets that, because sometimes they have only the audiobook through my public library, or sometimes they only have the ebook. That was kind of the process I had to deal with The Shining, was that they didn't have any physical books in the library at the time I went to go find it, and so I had to find the ebook because they also didn't have the audiobook for it. But without further ado, let's get into what the wheel decides for us for April. All right, so as always, we're going to start with the age range. And we have adult picked, so another adult read for this month. All right, so now we're going to pick our genre for adult. Ooh, mystery thriller. All right, so mystery thriller is our pick, so let me go ahead and pull out the author last name wheel, and let's see what we get. The letter L. Okay, so I'm going to go through in my overdrive and try to find an adult mystery thriller with the last name starting with an L. Okay, so the first book that came up under author last name L within the mystery thriller section of my overdrive was The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest by Stieg Larsson. Now, I actually have earlier this month listened to the second book in the Millennium series, which I really enjoyed. This was the first series, or the first author that really came up that was a part of a series that either I had started or was the beginning of a series kind of thing. Because typically what I will do is, if I find something that is within the author last name, typically what I would do is do a random number generator, and whatever book I land on, if it's not the first in the series, I would go to the first in the series. But because this is a series that I already know, and this was the first author that came up under L that had any kind of significance to me, I figured this would be a good one. Now, technically, the fifth book in the series, the Millennium series, had come up first, but that's because the fifth and sixth book, I think, maybe the fourth book as well, had been under a different last name, because Stieg Larsson unfortunately passed away years ago, and the series was continued by somebody else, and I think in particular the translator of the series, because the series itself was actually written in Swedish. Now, what I ended up deciding is that because I already have the physical book in my personal library, I wasn't going to borrow the ebook. I felt like it would just be kind of ridiculous since I already have this book, and I didn't necessarily want to listen to the audiobook either, because like I said, I'm already listening to enough audiobooks as it is, that if I can have something more physical to break up those audiobooks, that would be better. This is going to be weird though, because this is the first book in the series that I am not going to be listening to on audiobook, so I'm wondering how the experience of the story is going to be. And I am curious to see even what even happens in this one, because the second book wasn't as great. I felt like I kind of was unsatisfied with what the story had going for it. There were some really great elements in it though, but I'm excited to see where this one goes because I really do like Lisbeth. I think she is a character that I would greatly like to see continue in the rest of the series. I just hope that this book ends up being better than the second one, because the second one just had let me down in a lot of ways. So this will be my library lottery pick for April, and I will wait to read this until I have completed my Owls TBR. I will also wait to read my random TBR books until I've completed my Owls TBR, which thankfully, as you see, is not really a whole heck of a lot, and I don't have to do nearly as much reading as I thought I would, considering that I'm doing the Animagus training along with my studies for the librarian career. And then the last few books I do kind of hope to get to in the month, but I'm not really sure if I'm going to be able to, are, for one, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. I always want to say Knight of the Seven Realms. It's Kingdoms. This is by George R. Martin. Is essentially a story that I believe follows two characters that are set before the Song of Ice and Fire series still, but 90 years prior, and they're supposed to have parallels to Tyrion and Podrick Payne from the Song of Ice and Fire series, and this follows a duo named Dunk and Egg. And then the last book I do hope to try to read this month, if I possibly can, is a collection of Dorothy Must Die stories. There are 3 short stories in here that follow different characters essentially in the world. This is only one of the collections. I think that in total there's 3 or 4, so I do want to try to find the other ones if I can, but this was the first one I found. And the one that I think I may even pick up before I read any of the other books on my TBR outside of my Owls TBR is pick back up The Dirty Streets of Heaven by Tad Williams, because if you watch my March wrap up, I said that I had DNF'd this because I didn't feel like I was quite in the mood for it, and with the Owl starting up, I kind of wanted a fresh slate, so I set this one aside. Basically, what I'm going to be doing is I will be picking it back up where I had left off, which was about 130 some pages into it, and just kind of go from where I was and try to finish it this month. So there you guys go. Those are all the books I plan on reading in April. I can't even get The Dirty Streets of Heaven to fit on here unless I throw it in the back of the cart. But yeah, so if you guys did enjoy this video, let me know, and please give this video a big thumbs up. Let me know what you are planning on reading and what you are planning on doing in the Owls, if you are participating in it. What career are you planning on doing? What classes are you going to take? Are you going to take any of the fun trainings going on? So on and so forth. And if you're not already and you'd like to be, hit that button down below and subscribe to become an owlet in our flock, and I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye guys.